Good morning everyone, and welcome back to Craft Eccentricity. Yes indeed, I'm back for a while, and I was just adjusting my microphone there. Right, where did we leave off? It seems like forever ago. It was KSCRAFT's haul. So today I've got a make, and we're going to do a make. So, and also excuse my throat. So I have used one of the words, Summer Lovin', from the Summer Words pack from KSCRAFT. I've used a couple of these. This fabulous set, if you haven't got it, you need to get this. This is all year round. This is for doing your Christmas cards with a little bit of, you know, rickrack trim, or having a little bit of rickrack to put on gingerbready type stuff, all kinds of things like that. And then your zigzaggy stuff, you can just make great cards and borders. So if you haven't got that one, you do need it. And then I got my ice cream shakers, but I didn't do them as shakers. And what we're going to make, because I've already used these to make something, is the jug. And we're going to do it as a card. Right, I'm just going to pause while I cough. Right, that's better. Oh, dearie me. My throat is just horrible. Now, a lot of people, before I get into my cards, a lot of people have wondered, have I had my operation yet? No, I haven't. I'm still waiting for my surgeon to come back off holiday. So when that happens, you'll probably find that I'll vanish for 2 weeks, because I understand you can't really lift your arms properly for a couple of weeks, and that would mean I couldn't use my die cutting machine. And if I can't stretch them forward, I don't think I'd be able to do any stamping either. So that was a quick digression, and back to the card. So the ice cream card that I made, I did it old school. When I say old school, I mean that paper print is probably 15 years old. It has to be. Don't ask me who designed it, but I know it's about 15 years old. And I don't know if you're like me, sometimes I go through my scrapbook paper boxes and I think, should I use it or shouldn't I? And then I start getting all nostalgic, because there goes my phone. That might be the doctor. Hang on a second. Actually, it wasn't. It was my husband telling me he'd just passed a fruit tree nursery that had got 40% off their fruit trees, and he wanted to know if I wanted to go there this weekend. And of course I did not say no. Anyway, back to the card, and I was reminiscing about the scrapbook papers, and years and years ago, do you know, I think what ruined the scrapbook industry, I'm putting my neck on a block here, is CHA. Yeah. The annual crafting doodah. Well, I think it ended up being twice a year, didn't it? And it was just too much stuff for people. It was like a release every month. Whereas when I first started scrapbooking, which was at the age of 5, you didn't get much. I used to cut up magazines and make little scrapbooks. But when scrapbooking paper and everything became really trendy, I know I'm digressing all over the place here, it was like 4 times a year, and it was seasonal, and you get all excited about the seasonal stuff, and it didn't feel too expensive when you were doing it 4 times a year, if you know what I mean. And then they just started hitting you month after month after month, and it was just overwhelming. Anyway, I finished talking. Here we go. So there is the Summer Loving sentiment, and I did that in lemon and white, that lovely old paper sunshine background. And then I decided to use my glitter and a few beads to do toppings on my ice cream cones, and I just put little blobs of glue in there and chucked a load of glitter in. But these are those trims. I've got a wavy one at the top and the zigzaggy one at the bottom, because I thought that was kind of symbolic of the ocean, you know, the sea, ice cream, sea and sunshine. So that's what I did, and as I said, the paper's really old, so it's old school, but I just love that. So that was my first make. Now we're going to do the second make together, so I'll just move that out of the way. Now I've got my scoreboard, because I always use that whenever I'm making a shaped card. and I've already cut my 2 back pieces which will make a card, and I've done them in craft cardstock again because I've got a bit of white paper on there, because I do love craft cardstock. Now to do this you only need to score 1 piece. Now then, looking at the shape, you can either score at the top of the jug or you can score at the bottom handle of the jug. It's entirely up to you, but I think I'm going to go, I'm looking at it, I'm thinking top, bottom. I'll go bottom. So I only need to do 1, and that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to do what I don't normally do, and that's line it up straight. And I'm going to get my doodah off here and pop that flat. And then I'm just going to go along here at the base of the handle. And that's all you have to do to make a stand-up card. And it's my favourite way of doing cards, as well as using easels. So now that we've got that, we've got a flap, and you just bend that outwards. That it will be the bit that will stand up. But the reason you do that now is so that you're not gluing it down, because all of your glue is going to go here. So I'll just squish that for a minute, pop that there, and I'm just going to go along here. And then I'll put my top one on top. So just wiggle it around, pick your thingy up, tap it down so that you got it correct. Everything's even. And I'm going to flip that over, and I'm going to run it along there, and just make sure that there's no glue. Now you can write your sentiment on the entire back of there, or you can do it just here. It's up to you. You can decorate the back as well. Put a little pocket for your gift card or something. Right, so that is our card made, and as I said, you know, you kick that piece out and your card will stand up just like that. So it'll look like that when you've done it. But I'm flattening it down for the moment, because the next bit is the layering piece. And for the pattern jug section, I've used Katie Pertiet, and this is the lemon twist pack. And thankfully it does come as a digital, because finding it as a pre-printed pack is very, very hard indeed. So I'm going to turn that over, and I've got little scraps of paper everywhere that have come off my die cutting machine. And we're just going to glue this layer on. Now I did cut the handle out a second time using some blue, so the handle will be a different colour. And then as if I flip that over, we just need to make sure that we're getting a nice border, and I want it to be quite even, so that will do. And then we'll give that a squish. This is such pretty paper. Look at that. Isn't that lovely? And you've got that little splash of blue, which is why I'm going to do my handle in blue. And as I said, I cut it out again. All you have to do is put a scrap of paper under your die for that section, so that you can get that, and you just trim it off with your scissors. So I'm going to pop a bit of glue on there. And then just line it up on here. Just going to wiggle it around, make sure I've got it straight. So there's my lovely jug handle. Just smooth that down. So you've got that little bit of blue here that's just tying in with this bit of blue here. I like that. And then I cut and glued one of the lemons. I did the slice, and I cut it in exactly the same pale yellow cardstock, but I used an alcohol marker to colour the rest of it in before popping the pale bits back in. So that's just a quick way if you haven't got a different shade of cardstock. And I also printed myself, oops, hang on, pick my leaves up onto there first. So I cut a bunch of lemon leaves, so I've got those, and then I just printed that. When life gives you lemons, make lemonade, because that's the kind of mood I'm in at the moment. And I used a blue edge once again just to go in with these little bits of blue here. So I'm just going to cap my glue off for a second and decide what I'm going to be doing here. Now I quite like these elements here, but I love that lemon as well. So I'm thinking that I know that I want that onto there, and I don't want anything hanging outside of the handle. So I'm always saying this bit here is like flower arranging, and then I think I'm going to want a bunch of leaves everywhere. So the first thing I want to do is glue those two down. This is how I make my dimensional embellishments. I kind of hover stuff around the card and then move bits around. Right, so I'm going to need a little blob of glue there. Only a tiny bit just to fix it. And then I've got my lemon onto there. So those two are now one. Sometimes you might need to leave it a couple of minutes just to dry. And then I've got a lemon leaf, so I'm going to put a little blob of glue down there. And what I'm doing is making a very big embellishment for myself. So I've got my lemon leaf in there. I might use them all and I might not. You never know what you're going to do. Look at that, I just put the glue on the wrong side. But I don't think that matters. Yeah, I'll put it there. It's got one on top, one below, and I'll have that big one below, because these are different sizes. I've got a blob of glue on there, and I'll position that. And then I want some leaves coming off of here, so I'll just move the card out of the way for a second. I'm going to have my little leafy sprigs poking out, so I'm just going to arrange them how I want them. And I think that'll make a really sweet embellishment. And I might even have an extra one to stick on top. So right, I'm happy with that. So all I do is make sure the pieces aren't moving around, and I'll just put my little blobs of glue on. Now that one just moved, so I'm tucking that in, and I'm just going to pick this up, bring it over, decide where about you want it, and I'm going to go there. And then I have, of course, got this little leaf here. I'm wondering if I should go another one. I think I will actually. I'm going to go another one here. And pop that there. Right, I'm just going to let that dry for a second, and then we'll come back and put the foam on the back. Right, so there we go, you see, it's one whole piece now. So now you've got your embellishment, you just turn it over and you pop your foam on. So Dollar Tree foam here, and I'm just going to put it where I need it. So I'm going to go into there, and I have a piece here. And then I'm going to go across there, and that should be enough to support it. So now I've got myself a nice dimensional element that I can then wiggle around and pop onto my card. Do you know, hang on a second, I've just remembered I didn't open my blinds. There, I'm hoping the lighting on my table has improved. So I can see now where I want to pop it, which is just below the handle, so that whether you're hand gifting or making your own envelope, nothing's going to get knocked off or squished. And if you're ever in the mood to make a box full of embellishments, you know, doing them like that is so easy. Right, I'm just picking that up towards myself so that I can see where I'm going. I'm wanting that bit to be straight as well. And I'm going to press that down. So there's our finished little card with our slice of lemon. And when life gives you lemons, make lemonade. Always do that. I insist. And then you've got your butterfly there, and you've got a little bit of the lemon from the print sticking out. And then just to show you, you've got your bit there. You can fold that to make it easier for people when they receive it. And you've got that lovely neat score line. And then you just do that, and your little jug will stand up. And depending on where you position it is to, you know, how much of your cards you see. I absolutely love that. And I love my little old schooly ice creamy as well. So I want to thank you so much for joining me. Thank you so much for sticking with me. It's quite frustrating for me because it's like all your routines and your whole world's just been like tipped upside down, and you don't know whether you're coming or going, who's calling you, what appointment you got to go to, and I don't know. But I do thank you so much for joining me, and as usual, all links below. Bye.